Every time it snowed, they come to me. I don't even have to go to them. They'll pay whatever price I say. Gary, I was charging $400 a driveway without offering salt. I made $2,000 in 12 hours. Welcome back to yet another episode of the 8-Figure Agency Show, where a successful entrepreneur and a soon-to-be successful entrepreneur help you build an 8-figure agency by documenting our successes and our failures.
Yeah, so today we didn't have a plan for today's show, so we're just going to do a wrap-up of what we've been doing for the last couple of weeks. So I'm super excited about that, and because I have some big stuff coming up. And Derrik, you froze, my man.
Did I freeze? I still see
frozen.
you okay.
Okay, cool.
Know.
Yeah, your screen's just frozen. I'm sure it'll refresh in a minute. So also, go leave a review. I'm sick and tired of telling everybody to go leave a review, and you guys never do. All right, so cool. Let's jump into this. So where are you at, Derrik? So last we talked, you needed it. You've kind of tapped out the market that you jumped into. Now you need to go out and start creating podcasts for people from the ground up so you can create your shorts. How's that going?
Yeah, I mean, this is my first time ever in the corporate world, so to speak, right? And so there was a lot for me to learn this first year. We're going on to our first full official calendar year of like going through an entire season, basically a whole year of being in business officially, right? Where we're in every phase of the market. And, we've had our ups, we've had our downs, we've had our plateaus. And yeah, I mean, if there's one thing I learned, which would have made sense, it's, during that, and I've said this many times now, but like July, August, and even early September until after Labor Day, things get really slow. They really do. Everybody I had in contact went on vacation, like literally everybody. Current clients you work with, and even like everybody else. I mean, except me, right? I was still here chugging along, right? But it could be really discouraging, and just honest transparency when you're chugging along, you're sending 50 messages a day, you're trying to close sales, you're like 1 second away from signing a deal, and then boom, you don't hear back for 3 weeks. Oh,
well, you know what the lesson is, right? Next year, that's when you guys take your vacation.
Yeah, that is the lesson. Or we focus on operations, which is actually what I was leading to, which is what I did. So I took that time.
Or take vacation or rebuild things. Because here's the thing. Imagine, so your team's all taking vacation, let's say in January, and your whole market's taking vacation in the summer, and now you're missing one of your busier seasons in January because everybody's on vacation. So you just start, that's what we've done. We're like, yeah, you can take days off, you can take time off. It's more towards these seasons and these times because that's when our clients are closed. Like there's certain times that dentists are closed, so we don't have to be open. So
yeah, no, 100%. I mean, listen, that's exactly one of the big things I learned, right? I will be doing that next year, 100%. I will be taking at least a couple days, like maybe a weekend here and there. But what I did this year, now that I learned this lesson, it was really great because I got to focus, like I was saying, on operations. So I went through this, learned it the hard way, went through it, and realized, okay, so this is not going to happen. Like I'm not going to get 3, 4, 5 new clients, but I will be able to restructure my team. I will be able to focus on culture. I will be able to reorganize the way we do things, optimize, make things more efficient, hired a project manager finally. So we're working on building systems and processes. You've been telling me to do that for months. Awesome. Yeah, so that's really good. My point with all of this is the following. Right now, I'm in a really prime position where we were able to kind of identify all of our red flags, so to speak, of like, hey, watch out for this, watch out for this, watch out for this. Because it's great as an entrepreneur to think, as a business owner, hey, I can onboard 20 new clients. But, you and I both know that's not going to happen, right? Because even if it did happen, you're going to lose 75% of them because you physically your business can't support it. Look, I really don't even have a question for you on this. I guess I'm just...
No, I want to walk through what you guys did, though. So first you came up with a new vertical. So you said, hey, I'm working with podcasts. Now you're saying I'm going to help other people start their podcast.
Exactly.
So which was a logical next step because there's a lot of people who have podcasts that don't have money, but that's which is bad for you.
Yep.
But what's really good is there's a lot of people who have money who don't have podcasts.
Yep. Or even better, taking it one step further, there's a lot of people who have podcasts but are not doing it right, but happen to have big businesses behind them that we could come in and say, hey, we'll solve all of this for you and do it right within 24 hours, like this,
Yeah.
for this
Yeah, yeah.
amount of money. That's the beauty of it.
Okay, so let's walk through that. So then how'd you narrow down so first thing you had to do is you had to get your avatar.
Yes.
So how'd you come about with that?
Yeah, so I did a thing that you told me to do previously. I gave an employee who really loves doing this stuff, who's on the sales side of things, and I let him own it. I said, hey, this is your project, take it. Within 2 days, he came back to me, hey, here's the research I came up with, here's what competitors are doing, here's 3 avatars we could go for. So I had them lead this.
That's awesome. So what'd they come up with?
Yeah, so we came up with 3 main avatars, but really consolidating into 2. So medicine or PhD doctors, right? So, and like we've actually worked with some like Dr. Hyman, clients like that, helping them start podcasts. And the second one is business people such as yourself, or even more specifically, business people who are authors, because if they're authors, they know the value of content. So we'll reach out to big business authors and offer them podcasts.
So you're going to say, hey, I'm going to do your guys' podcast, all your clips, help you set everything up.
Everything.
And yep, from start to finish.
Yep, and even go so far as scheduling their guests and stuff. Yeah.
Oh wow! And so this is going to probably be a bigger, longer buying cycle because there's going to be a little bit more commitment you're asking for. So before it was, hey, you're already doing this thing, let me add value to it. Now you're saying, hey, I need you to commit to making this content every week.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's excuse me, a lot more commitment to it, a lot more money, right? A lot more time, and I'm still working through it. Right now I like to sell first and iterate later. It's just how I do stuff.
That's right.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to sell. Whatever hits and sticks is what we're gonna roll with, and then we iterate from there. Yeah.
That's awesome. So a couple things that I got going on. Next week, we are having our leadership summit. So we'll have about 8 people, I think, there from our team. We also have a coach that goes with us. And the main thing that we're working on is setting our target for next year. We want to get to 30 million ARR sometime next year. So even if it's at the end of the year. And we're going to start changing a couple things that we're doing. My business partner went to a SaaS convention, and he really liked the way that they look at everything on the recurring model on the ARR level. So meaning if you're at $1 million a month, then your ARR is 12 million. You're kind of forecasting forward, right? And so he's just like, let's start looking like that. Let's look at the numbers like that and stop looking at a monthly in MRR. And then let's aim for 30. And then let's just ask the team, what do we need to do? What do you guys need to do? And then we're pulling together the necessary resources or whatever the team's going to need to be able to get there. So that's one thing that we're doing. The other thing is having our team. We figured out how to get our team to communicate vertically. So each department knows how to communicate really well within their department. The director or manager of those departments know how to get the KPIs that they need to perform. But where we're not strong yet is, when we're getting better though, because we put a heavy emphasis on it, is horizontal communication. So where these departments are communicating across and they're working towards a common goal. And one big thing that was a revelation for me, and this is not intuitive, so I wouldn't have thought to work through this. It would have taken me a lot more time, but I had somebody help me with this, is that when somebody's directing a department, that becomes their most important team. It's like their kids, right? Like they're protecting them, they're helping them. That's like their department, right? Well, what happens is when you elevate and you create a leadership team, that has to become your most important team. And people struggle with that. It's like, no, the other team is most important. And here's why you have to make that mindset shift, is that when you have all these departments and they're communicating vertically but not horizontally, the vertical departments can actually win without the company winning. And so you can have everybody doing what they're supposed to be doing and it not feed up into the company growing, and nobody's really owning that. And so then what happens is that you end up going backwards, or something happens and then you have to lay people off, and nobody wants to do that, right? Nobody's in charge of a department wants to lay anybody off, let anybody go. Neither do I. But that means this top team has to be the most important team, because the only thing that protects us from shrinking is growing, right? So as long as we're growing, then we're all good. And so that's what we're going to be really focusing on next week. So I'm excited about that. And then this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm going to be in Dallas for a leadership training there. That I'm not speaking at it. I'm just going as an attendee.
That's really cool. There's 2 things I want to touch on there. Before I forget, I'm going to mention them so we can remember to go back to them at least. The way you described it, right? Vertically, and with
horizontally.
Vertically versus horizontally. When it comes to, you mentioned very specifically that, shrinking versus growing, right? So you had the leadership team at the top, right? Everybody would report up there. Why does the leadership team have to be, like, when you say most important, what does that mean as the leadership team, and what does that look like on the org chart?
Yeah, so we have directors, right? So we have like 8 directors, and those directors have departments underneath them. Some of them have a team of 3, 4, 5. Some of them have a team of 20, right? And then the bigger teams, they have managers that manage smaller groups of people underneath them. So that team has to be your most important team, because that leadership team, whether it's a team of directors or a C-suite, which is like CEO, COO, CFO, those kind of things. The higher you go, the further out you're thinking, and the more long term that you're thinking, and that is where you have to get to as a company, because otherwise the people who are on the team that are doing the work, like on your team it's the video editors, things like that. On our team, maybe it's an account manager. They're in what you call win now mode. They're just thinking about, how do I win today? But they're not going to come and do what you did, where you were like, we need to go out, find new avatars, create a whole new product, a whole new service. You're doing that for the future of the company, right? Even though the company was already doing good, you were reading the writing on the walls 12 months down the road, which is great that you have to do that for your company now. But as you grow, you need a team of people who are working towards those things, and they have to be doing it together. And again, people don't like talking about this, but if a company is not growing, then it's shrinking. Mm-hmm. And if a company is shrinking and it's not thinking about its future, then you have to lay people off, and that's all bad. Like, I hate that. So that you have to think that way to protect from that.
So that makes a lot more sense. Now, the second thing that I wanted to dig into a little further, and you just said it 3 times in a row there, so obviously it's important. If a company isn't growing, it's shrinking. So I want to attest to this, because I'm experiencing this right now, right? So even if you stay at a steady MRR, right, or if you want to use ARR, right, annual recurring revenue, if that number isn't increasing overall, and the clients that are leaving, your churn rate is not lower than the clients that you're getting every month, you're shrinking, right? Even though you might be plateauing. So I'm going through something like this, right? So we would be getting at least 1 new client a month, and that would be on average 2 to 3K a month in new additional recurring revenue. We've only had maybe 1 come in the last 2 months, adding about 1,000 recurring revenue. But we also lost a couple of clients as well, right? So when we're not growing, we're shrinking. So even though our MRR has stayed really stable, I'm looking at the balance sheet. I'm like, okay, hold on.
And it's just a matter of time until you shrink. It's just a matter of time.
Exactly.
Because leaving is easier than gaining.
Yeah.
Right? So it's much more natural to lose clients. You don't have to do anything to lose a client. You can perform exactly the way you are right now. And the reason for that, Derrik, is because you have all these outside forces. Yep. You have the economy. You have their business. It's either going up or going down as well. You have a competition. You have all these things that are working against you. So you have to be able to push up through that. And the only way to do that is to add new clients. Yep. That's the only way to do it.
Yeah, and look, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, Gary, how do you add new clients? If you're thinking about how to do that, or you want the answer to that question, I highly recommend you go to our Spotify, Apple, or YouTube, because we have a library all the way from episode 1. Literally, we'll answer that for you step by step. So I highly recommend you check that out. But yeah, I mean, listen, I could attest to this firsthand. Like, I'm looking at the balance sheet. I'm like, okay, we're not growing at the rate we should be growing for whatever reasons it might be. While we focus on growing, we have to cut back, right? We have to lay these people off. Yeah. This is not performing. That's the mindset that you have to have in there. Is that wrong?
You do. Yeah. No, it's not wrong. It's just people don't understand it. It's just like going to the gym, right? Like, you're either getting stronger or you're getting weaker. There is no like, oh no, I'm just maintaining. Like, yeah, maybe for a week, but you're not maintaining for the next 2 years. You're either trying to get stronger and growing in strength, or you're getting weaker and getting older, right? That's where I'm at. Is like, I'm not getting stronger. I'm 40 years old. I'm just now trying to not deteriorate at a really, really fast speed. But when I was your age, Derrik, I was getting stronger and I was working at it. So business is the same way, and you cannot go into it with a mindset of like, oh yeah, we'll just coast. Every time I've done that, it's burnt me so bad. Yeah. It's just like really bad, and it's very scary. Actually,
look. I got to be really transparent for a minute here, right? And something I struggle with a lot, right, is a lot of fear and anxiety around it, right? It wasn't that long ago when I had no clients, right? So like, oftentimes, and I would be lying if I admit that I go through this mindset shift 3 times plus a day, morning, evening, night, probably before I get any food in my system. So that's probably the trend. But where I'm thinking like, what if I wake up tomorrow and I have no clients left? Now that's like it's most likely never going to happen. The likelihood of that happening, that's like a,
It could though, man. COVID could hit tomorrow.
Exactly. So when I have that go through my head, it freaks me out, right? It paralyzes me. And you probably can attest to this as well. I think a lot of people, who are heads of their companies go through something like this. But
yeah, so what you have to do, Derrik, when you get in those mindsets,
please.
you got to stop letting your mind control you, and you need to start controlling your mind. So what I mean by that is, obviously you didn't control that thought coming into your brain. It just appeared.
Yeah.
But what you need to do is now focus it. If you're getting anxiety and then you're like blowing up your team, and I'm not saying you're doing that, but that's a lot of people do that. I've done that.
I'm doing
or
it.
Going and putting unnecessary anxiety on people and like, oh, what's going on? I've been there. That's not what you should do. What you should do is you should be focusing that towards that growing. So that head pops in your, oh, what if we lose all our clients? Cool. I'm getting 4 clients next month. Whatever you have to do to go get 4 clients, go get it. And use that whatever thought that's popping into your brain, let it come, and then go and use it to attack. The other thing is, I don't think it's a bad idea to work through what would happen if you go to 0. I do that regularly. Like, okay, what if I lost everything? Like, how would I support myself? What would I do? And really at the end of the day, Derrik, it's like, as long as I could get enough money to feed myself, feed my family, and pay for a house, like, I don't need this big of a house. I don't have to have 2 cars. I don't have to have a lot of the things that I have. I would be fine, and my kids would be fine. And it's okay. Like, walk through that and then go flip it around and say, hey, okay, let's take it to the top. What does it look like if I sell 100 clients? I think it's really healthy to do that.
Yeah, I mean, and like I will say again, full transparency on this episode, that's exactly what I do, right? So it's not like I just get in that state logically. My brain always thinks that way. I'm like, okay, so what would happen? And I always go to, okay, well, I have a year worth of doing this. I have experience and skills, people that I now know, people in my network, and you've actually told me about this in the past, right? If that Armageddon scenario were to happen, I could probably do what I did in the last 12 months within 4 months, right? Because now I know exactly what to do, and I literally have it all on the 8 Figure Agency Show YouTube channel, youtube.com/8 Figure Agency Show. But there's like a blueprint to it. It's really it's building like a puzzle. I think Alex Hormozi said this in the past. At some point it becomes you executing, and then at another point it's you putting the right people at the right place at the right time for them to execute for you. But again, I want to take it one step further, Gary. Burnout and work-life balance. I actually was watching a clip today. I think it was from one of the dental marketing theory episodes. I think his name was Dr. Tariq Ali, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And in it, you guys were talking about...
He's from Egypt, yeah.
Yeah, you guys are talking about work-life balance, specifically overseas versus domestically. What are your thoughts around that, and how do you personally, as CEO of an 8 Figure agency, manage your work-life balance?
I don't believe in work-life balance. I don't think there is any balance. I believe it's work-life harmony. And somebody else taught me that, right? So like balance. So here's balance. Balance shows like, okay, I'm like half at home and then half at work. Like my life is not that way at all. There's some days that I am like locked into work and it's really, really busy, and I'm not all tuned into everything that's going around me at home. There's other times where I am tuned into my family and I'm totally there, and I'm not all tuned into work. And it usually is back and forth. And so we have to realize that, and then you have to adjust for that. Now, when you're younger, if you don't have a family, you don't have kids, yes, work. Like if work makes you happy, then make that happen, right? And Alex Hormozi, like he said, I don't want to have kids. I love to work. My wife loves to work. So we work for like 6.5 days a week, and that's it. And that's fine if that's what he wants with his life, right? For me, personally, I'm thinking about when I'm 60 years old, what am I going to be doing? Well, for me, I'm going to be hanging out with my grandkids and probably supporting their entrepreneurial spirit and things like that, right? Like I'm thinking that way and I'm investing in that, right? Like I'm thinking down the road and I'm investing into my kids, I'm investing into my family. And so it's more, for me, it's harmony. It's not a balance. And I'm very, very intentional. So I go in and block schedule everything. So, and I plan like 6 months out. So we just planned, my family knows I work super hard, but then it's like, hey, we're going on a cruise for 5 days. I won't have Wi-Fi there more than likely. We're just going to hang out and do whatever they want to do for 5 days. And I spend time with them. And then my wife, I take her on a date every Friday. And my kids, I took my son to a football game recently. So I'm always trying to find time to meet with those people that are most important to me and spend time with them. And it's not about always the other thing. Sometimes people hear, oh, a cruise, you got to do a cruise. No, like my daughters love when I take them to boba. Super simple. If I just take them to boba, they're ecstatic, right? And so making time for those relationships is huge. And the other thing is I'm very consistent in my workouts. I have way bad ADHD. My brain will keep going. And if I don't drain my body, I get really weird energy. Like it's not good. Like my brain's tired, but my body is still going 100 miles an hour. I have to work out.
Yeah, people really underestimate not only for health and mental health, physical and mental health, but the power of working out to really ground you day to day. I work out every day. I'm working out every day, 6 days a week for 4 years now, and it really helps. I mean, it like really helps to ground you. Like I'd be super stressed. I'd hit the gym, and I'd come out of there like with full clarity. But wow, I gotta say, like I've honestly never heard that. It's the first time I've ever heard that. You know, work-life balance versus work-life harmony. I grew up in the era where there was a significant amount of that hustle content coming out all the time. Everybody and their mother was like, you got to work, hustle. When I got into the game and I started myself, I realized, look, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to quit. It's not for me. I don't want it.
Yeah.
So I made it. I made a deal with myself. I said, listen, if that's what it's going to take to do it, I'm not going to be able to do it. Now I'm doing it. Go ahead.
Well, some people love it though. I don't think there's anything wrong with like my point to Alex Hormozy, like he enjoys working. And so that's great.
That's not even what I mean. Okay. I literally work 24/7. Like I'll be at dinner with my family and I'll get a message and I'm the person who's responding to the message because I love it so much, right? But I think what people don't get clear on, what they don't understand is that doesn't mean you have to work from 7:30 in the morning until midnight every single day, because that's how it was portrayed to me at the time. Right? That's how, but that's not the case, because there's literally days when I don't start work till noon because in the morning I was with my family, but then I'll be working from noon until 8 p.m. Or sometimes I'll work from noon to 2 p.m. and then I'll be done the rest of the day. Morning I spent time with the family. Afternoon I went to the gym and rested because that's what my body told me I needed to do. My point is, you know, you don't have to feel guilty. You have to do what you need to do, right? Because there's a line. You have to do the work, right? If the work's not going to get done, it's not going to get done. And if you want something, you have to work to do it, right? But at the same time, you have to do it in a way that you can be consistent with it, because consistency will always win.
Yeah. I think it goes back to like, I love what I do. If I lost everything, I would literally jump back in the saddle and go build some kind of business, some kind of agency, right? So if that's what you love to do, then do it. There's nothing wrong with that. Like exactly. There's that nuance there, right? Like, but at the same time, you can't lay in bed all day and play video games and then expect that you're going to be successful either. Yep. So there's, and the other thing, you can't go into it going, well, I'm clocking off now and I'm done. And you didn't finish the stuff that you needed to get done for that client because you're going to lose that client tomorrow morning.
That's exactly
so. There's nuances to it. When I first started, I worked all the time, but I didn't have kids. Like I had a baby at the time. So he didn't need my attention quite as much. And so I worked all day and all night, 6 days a week, over and over and over again. And I was totally fine with that. I could see into the future of what I was creating. I wasn't exactly sure what I was creating, but I could see it. And I knew that I was working towards it. And that's what I wanted. Now I have the luxury. I can build the schedule that I want.
Yep.
So now I can work how I want, when I want. So now I get to do 5 podcasts a week. I don't have any meetings before 10 a.m. My last meeting's at a certain time. I have all my schedule all work for me. I'm not in my email all day like I used to be. I used to be in my email 3-4 hours a day. I'm not like that anymore. I've worked that out. So I get to do the stuff that I love to do every day now, but I had to work towards that. You don't get that handed to you.
Yep. No, that's exactly what I was trying to say, but I think with a lot more wisdom and experience behind it. So thank you for helping me get there. That's exactly it. No, and I think a lot of people, they miss that. They really, really miss it. Because listen, I missed it. When I first started this, I missed it. And I was burning out quickly. Then I realized, took a step back, I realized, okay, I don't have to do it this way. I think I could do it this way. And now I'm basically trying to prove that's possible. What about other thing nobody ever talks about, and I would love to know if you experience this as well. Even though you're not working, you can never turn your mind off, right? I don't know if it's just me, but I like to say I literally work 24/7 because it'll be 2 a.m. and I'm like brushing my teeth, about to go to sleep, and I'm still in work mode, and I can never turn that off.
Yeah. So again, that's how I am too. But the way I look at it is I'm that way. Like I go on vacation, I turn off I literally leave my phone like away. I have a burner phone that I use. So that way I can't be emailed, social media, none of that. Right. And then I go on vacation and I'm unplugged. And guess what happens when I'm sitting on the beach or I'm doing something? I'm like, man, this umbrella guy that's selling these umbrellas right now, I could totally capitalize on this right here. I could start selling umbrellas down at the other end. I could either take this guy's job or I could do it way better. And I start thinking about how I'm going to like start a business right there on the beach, like today, because I can't stop. It doesn't turn off, to your point.
Never.
So it's like, okay, cool. Do I want to start an umbrella company on the beach or do I want to continue the stuff that I've already been working on and building? And so again, it's just reminding myself who I am, how I'm wired. I'm just wired this way. I can't help it. And what do I want to do? Do I want to say, pretend like I can turn it off and then end up just doing something else? So I would be focusing on business anyways. So I might as well keep investing into the thing I already built.
Yeah, I mean, that's so true because the exact scenario you just described, because I live in Florida, so I go to the beach pretty often. And when I sit there, what they do here actually, and I was telling a buddy of mine he should get into this, is they rent out the beach equipment. So like, I'll go to the beach.
That's where I saw it. It was in Miami.
Yeah.
That's where I saw it.
Yeah. They'll set up the beach equipment for you. They'll rent it and they make good money because they'll rent it for like $100 to $200 a day, and they'll upsell you on like a kiddie pool, and they'll give you extra towels and all this stuff, food delivery for $50. Like they make good money. And I was thinking, I was like, oh, if I started this, the equipment would be like $200. I could be doing like half a grand a day. Like that's pretty good. But no, I mean, I think
you want to know a business I'm looking at right now? There's 2 businesses that I'm like I want to get into so bad, but it just would distract me. The first is, you know how when you go through and you take your garbage out and you come and bring it back in your garbage cans and you look inside of it and it's like stinky and full of maggots and stuff like this. Like, what if for $25 a month I cleaned that and deodorized it, so that way your cans always smell good. They weren't all nasty, right? Like, so that's one business right there. And I think that you can absolutely make a killing because it takes like 30 seconds.
Have you seen them on TikTok? There's a lot of people doing that.
I've seen. Oh, okay.
They're crushing. They're making like
Are
50 to 100 grand a month, and they're franchising their locations. They're giving people trucks. Yeah. They are killing it. Exactly like you said too.
Yep. So that's an easy win. Now here's the next one that I haven't seen that on TikTok. So that's just something I've been thinking about. Here's another one because I don't have any of those in my neighborhood either. So that's probably why. So here's the one that nobody's doing yet. I think the future is going to, like, it doesn't matter at a certain point, all these households are doing laundry. Everybody's doing laundry. Even people who make really, really good money are doing laundry. Occasionally, people will have like maids and stuff like that do laundry, but for the most part, everybody does their own laundry. I think like Uber, like in the future, will just pick people's laundry up and wash it for them, and it'll be cheap, Derek. I mean, like, here's all my whites, here's my colors, here's my girls' room, my boys, my husband, my wife, whatever, right? And so they'll have them all bagged out, but they won't fold them. So it'll be like $10 a bag to wash them. And then it'll be like really expensive to fold them though. So what will happen is people will be like, no, we'll just have somebody else wash it. And then they'll come back unfold it. They'll start to do that work. And then it's like $40 a bag or $25 a bag to fold it. And then they'll get machines to do it. Right. Like, I think that's the future. That's going to kill.
You may or may not believe me, but if you know, do you know who, I think her name is Cody Sanchez. You know who that is? Okay, so she is big on all social platforms, but her motto is like boring businesses. She's actually really brilliant. Her whole motto is this, and she'll invest in like laundromats and car washes and stuff like that.
Okay, I know who you're talking about.
She makes a ton of money. She actually made a YouTube video on this. It's a company. They're doing over $1 million a year, and they're growing rapidly. It's a laundry startup, and they're a premium laundry service that do exactly this. They have a bunch of trucks. They pick up all your laundry. They'll wash it all for you. They have commercial grade washers in the facility, and then they upcharge for foldings, like exactly like how you described.
Yeah.
it.
So and so what I think will happen in the future is like for to undercut her, the like Uber Eats is just going to pick it up for you. Like,
that's
it's just
really
going to
not
be
a bad idea.
Yeah, so Uber will do it at like a fraction of what she's doing it to pick it up, but they'll drop it off at her facility. And then she will make the money on the folding, and Uber will make the money on the delivery.
It's actually
because they can do.
It's a really good side hustle. I think a lot of teenagers could start doing this for their local community. I think you could crush it.
If I was a teenager right now, and I had my mind that I had right now, but I was in a teenager body, I would make a killing. Like you could easily make $10,000 a month doing basic things. The other one that I love, everybody does this one, is the lights, hanging Christmas lights.
Oh, I heard about this one. Yeah, that's a people make killing doing that too. They make a killing. Yeah, people underestimate like power washing. I used to snow shovel. I used to live in New Jersey in the mountains. So when it used to snow, it used to snow. Before I moved to Florida, we had 3 back-to-back snowstorms with over a foot of snow within 30 days of each other. I kid you not. What did I do? And I've been snow shoveling for my entire community for about 4 years. I had a list of people. Every time it snowed, they come to me. I didn't even have to go to them. They'll pay whatever price I say. Gary, I was charging $400 a driveway without offering salt. I made $2,000 in 12 hours, paid my friends $10 an hour, walked away with like $1,200, bought everybody lunch and dinner, paid my brother like $20 an hour. He was like, I'm not working for 10.
Bro, every time is your new origin story. Every time.
Well, this is all part of it. Listen, it'll all be in the book in like 20 years. But yeah, no, that was crazy. That was the first time I made like 4 figures in a day. But Gary, I was working from, I was working from 2 a.m. the day before, went to bed, woke up at 5 a.m. and didn't come back until about 10 o'clock at night. So it was a good 15-hour plus day. Was it worth $1,400? Absolutely, like no question.
At the time, right?
At the time.
What else would you have been doing? It would have taken you 6 months to make that much money.
Now I hate the snow, though. I absolutely hate the snow because every time it snows, even today, if it snowed today, I would go outside. Okay, boys.
Well, you know what's going to happen, right? In a couple of years, it's going to snow somewhere you're going to be at, and some kid's going to come knock on your door and try to hit you up for like $800.
Oh, I'm paying.
And you're paying it.
I am paying it. Not even going to bargain, and I'd probably like give him like a nice tip also. Yeah. That's what I love. That's when it comes full circle. But you know, one quick takeaway from that is I learned after that 15-hour day, I was like, okay, I want to make this money, but I'm never doing this again. I hired somebody and I just had them manage the stuff. So I would take 50%, pay them. So if I charged $40 for a driveway, I'd give the person $20. They were making a killing. I got to stay home. I monitored what they did. I just pocketed the difference. From then on, I just did that until I moved. But listen, I have one final question for you. This episode took a really awesome turn. I think it's great. And I do want to say before I continue and bring this last thing up, a lot of the stuff we're talking about today is all about mindset. So if you want to learn a lot more about mindset that it takes to run a business and an agency successfully, highly recommend you check out this video right here. I think Kyle probably just put it up in front of my face right here. It's all about the mindset. It's literally called The Full Guide to an Entrepreneur Mindset. Highly recommend. I think it's our best performing video, one of them. I think it's our third best behind the Stella and our first ever episode. Highly recommend you check it out. But Gary, and I think this is something we should do a full episode on, but what's your opinion on this? We talk about work-life balance and work-life harmony and all this stuff, but what about the concept that you don't actually need to be the CEO of the company? That you might have entrepreneurial tendencies, but that doesn't mean you have to be an entrepreneur or CEO. You could be an executive or an entrepreneur. What are your thoughts around that concept?
I am a huge fan. Like, I am really on the borderline if I'm a better entrepreneur or intrapreneur. I've made more money for other people than I've made for myself. So I have a knack for understanding certain things in other people's businesses and seeing it and then going, do this, this, and this, and here's how to execute on it.
True.
And I don't know why. Like sometimes I don't see it in my business, or sometimes I'm like, man, I get fogged by all the different things going on, and I've had to learn how to be a CEO. And I definitely think there's other people that could do a better job out there at it. It's not natural for me. I want to just do new things. I want to start new things, right? So what I've realized, Derrik, is I'm really good at doing the things that are hard, that need to be done and created, but nobody wants to start it because it's risky. That's what I like to do. So I'll start the podcast when nobody's around to help me to start the podcast, or no one knows how to do it. I'll do the in-person event when nobody else wants to do it. And every year I've been pushing myself to do that thing that nobody else on the team wants to do. And I remember when I first got on stage and I talked, I was shaking and I had to sell on stage. It was so scary, but I just said, okay, I'm going to do it. And I've just been trying to do that every year since. So I don't think what a CEO does well, if you're going to be successful, is they find people who have the strengths that they don't have. That's it. And if you can do that, then you can be a CEO. But you have to be self-aware and you have to realize what you're not good at. I have a ton of people around me. They're amazing. I mean, literally, they do stuff that I'm just like, man, I'm super thankful that you're here, because no chance I would have been able to do that. So I don't think being a CEO, you have to have like this particular set or that particular set. Now, I will say I did post an article on IG recently, and if people want an Easter egg, here's your Easter egg. I will shout you out. Go and find this article and comment on it, and just say, hey, I this is the Easter egg. But what it said is that people are now looking for CEOs who have people skills over technical skills. So it used to be like, hey, I want to hire a CEO to help me grow my agency from, we're at 20 million, we want to take it to 50 million, and we need to bring in a CEO that knows how to do that. You would bring in a CEO who has the marketing skill set to go do that, and that's common corporate America. Now people are looking for CEOs that have people skills above the technical skills. And I think that has a lot to do with like people quiet quitting and people culture being more important and all those kind of things. So for me, that's something that I've learned how to do over time. I was not good at it initially, but over time I've developed the skill to be able to, when there's something going on in the company and I need to talk about it or I need to gain support for it, I'm definitely the guy for the job.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I was going to point to. I mean, I really think it's been conflated. A lot of people think they have to be like the number one or the founder, the CEO. It's really not true. I mean, like I know guys who are like executives or even people who are lower level in the company who are absolutely killing it because they know what they're good at and they weigh into their strengths. Not only are they killing it, when I say killing it, I mean like, money wise, maybe they have some stuff that they're making good money, but they're also killing it in life. Like they actually enjoy what they're doing. Like they look forward to, like they really look forward to going into work every single day. And some people, again, to bring up work-life balance, work-life harmony, for them, it's working less, having more time to themselves, or they'd rather take a pay cut. For like, there's so much nuance to that stuff. A lot of things I can't even imagine myself because like I know what I want and I know what I do and I would pick this every single time. But sometimes I always wonder, I was like, hey, what would it be like if I was like this? Like it's, grass is always greener on the other side, right?
100%. Yeah, no. And my business partner actually he came over to SMC when we were very early. I think we had probably like 9 team members. He was just a little bit younger than you. And he said, hey, I want to come work with you. He didn't have a lot of skills at the time. He was really good with computers. I said, hey, I can't pay you. I don't have money to pay you because you don't have a skill. But I said, if you want to come intern, you can learn some skills, and I'll definitely, if the opportunity arises, we'll bring you on. Well, over time it did, and eventually now he's my business partner. Like he sweat equity, gave him half the company. I didn't give it to him. He earned it, right? And I'm super thankful that I did. Like he's one of the few people that can keep up with me work-wise and just with my motor. He's just as hungry, if not more hungry. He's just as qualified, if not more qualified. Like I bounce a lot of my stuff off of him. The vast majority of the stuff that I do goes through him and go, okay, poke holes in this. Tell me what I'm missing. What am I doing right? And he just really compliments me really well. He's good at all the things I'm not good at.
We should 100% do an episode on what it's like working with a business partner or with partners in general. I'm actually going to send you a message on this right now because I will forget this. And hey, I don't know if he's up for it, but if he ever is, I would love to have him on the show. I think it would be a really cool show.
I would love to too. I've talked to him about, he's starting a SaaS product from the ground up that SMC is the main client. And I told him, I said, let's do a podcast every week. I said, I'll do all the work and what it's like to launch a SaaS product so we can document this whole thing. And he's like, yeah, I even did a post on LinkedIn where I was like, hey, all the credit goes to Ryan. If it wasn't for Ryan, I wouldn't be here. And then at the bottom, I was like, he probably won't comment on this post because he doesn't like get online. He doesn't like all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So I don't think he's ever done a podcast. Like I would love to get him on my podcast too. But if he's open for it, yeah, eventually he'll have to take a spin on all my podcasts.
Yeah,
I have
get
4
him on
now, bro.
Yeah, I know. Believe me, I know. He was working through all of them. It's awesome. Hey, it's really cool because podcasting is one of those things. You got to get listeners, right? But you got to start somewhere, and there's so many cool ideas in the podcasting space. the worst thing that happens is you try it for 6 months and it doesn't work, but at least you tried it and you know that you gave it a shot. And I know you've got a lot of ideas probably for 50 more podcasts that you have to take it easy, because otherwise you'd probably start 50 of them. But I think you've got some pretty cool ones, and they're all linked in the description, guys, by the way. Agency Growth Engine, Dental Marketing Theory, Dental Rift. Dental Rift's actually launching Wednesday, right? The 15th.
Yeah. We'll see how that one goes. That one's interesting. I want to do one where I do a live show with like people coming on evaluating their marketing. I think that would be like a huge lead generation opportunity, and people would tune into it. That would be very specific to the industry that I'm in.
I wouldn't even say making that up. I mean, you should do a live YouTube show and then podcast it after. That's what I would do if I were you. I think that would be a pretty cool idea. I might snag that from you for one or two things. But that could be more like a webinar.
Like a webinar. Yeah, I want to have like a show that people can go and watch all this different marketing updates on one specific vertical of dental.
You should definitely do that.
And then that way they get major value from it. Like, oh, I got to change this. I got to fix this, right?
That's like a once a quarter show type thing, which would crush, because you could literally get a line of people to come evaluate your marketing for free live. You get to clip up the content from it, and you know how to call for that. And then, you get the whole process done. I think that would be brilliant. Yeah, that would be really, that's a good idea. That's a really brilliant thing.
Well, that leads me into my next thing I wanted to talk about was, I finally, and it took me a couple years, like literally, was I wanted to get to the place where, like, without me doing it, I'm posting like 8 times a day, all different kinds of content, video, written, blog, carousels, and it's not all perfect yet. So here's the thing that I learned. I thought that the hard part for this content was going to be all the technical stuff. So using the right hashtags, using the right sounds, using the right write-up, That's actually easy. That's the easy part. The hard part is the volume. So now what I did was I stopped paying attention to all the little minute details that slow me down. And I just said, just post the volume, get to this mini post, and then we'll go back and we'll start tightening it up and just, okay, now don't use that many hashtags, or now write it up this way for LinkedIn versus IG. And now do this for this, or do horizontal videos here, not vertical on this particular platform. Then now I'm actually going back through that process. It feels so good to finally be there.
So I'm going to say this, and I'm going to speak into the camera because this is going to get clipped, okay? And this is going to be basically accompanying exactly what you're saying. But this is exactly how we grew the 8-Figure Agency show as rapidly as we did, okay? We didn't focus on the hashtags. We didn't focus on any of that stuff. We focused on one thing, which is, as Gary said, volume of content. How much content can we get out in the shortest amount of time? We literally focused on nothing else. We didn't even focus on captions, on titles. In fact, if you look at our page, most of our videos don't even have hashtags in them. That's how serious we were about testing this. And what happened? Multiple viral videos on Instagram, multiple viral videos on TikTok, multiple viral clips on YouTube, and really high-performing episodes with at least, even though we're a new podcast, about 100 people across platforms listening to every single episode, which is a nice community of people. And that's if we don't promote it, meaning I don't post anything on IG, I don't post anything on TikTok or YouTube. 100 people will come through. That's pretty great without having to say anything.
Yeah,
that means
all marketing agencies and stuff too. Yeah,
exactly, 100%. So yeah, you got to stop paying attention to the hashtags and the titles and that stuff. Just put as much content out there as you possibly can. Eventually, something will hit, and it's science. You'll get better and better as you go, right? The more output you get, it'll just naturally get better and better.
Well, one thing I will say is, like, when I started my first podcast, I was super scared. I'm like, no one's going to listen. I'm going to look stupid. I'm not going to know what to say. What am I going to talk about? But now it's easy, actually. Like, it's gotten much easier. Now, I will say I'm still not the best at it. Like, I listen back to my old show, some of my shows, and I go, I could get better. I could remove filler words. I could be more organized. There's tons of things I can do to get better. But the fear is completely gone. And now I do 5 podcasts a week minimum every week. And it's not a problem anymore.
People underestimate how much time and effort it actually takes to host a podcast. This is my first time ever doing it. It's difficult. I'll catch myself, and you probably catch it all the time, stumbling for words or trying to think of the next thing to say, like while I'm speaking. I did that this episode maybe like 4 times. But yeah, I mean, the last thing I will add to this before we wrap up here is a lot of people don't talk about the lifespan of a good piece of content. So with all of our clients, we're actually seeing this happen live as we speak. We'll put out a video. You'll get like 500 views, right? And their average will be between 200 and 800 views. But a month and a half later, that same video will go from 500 views to 28,000 views, right? Evergreen content, which you put out forever, it's like a little asset. I don't remember who described it this way. I wish I could give him credit, but somebody I saw online said it this way. They said, look, think of every piece of content you create as an asset, right? Like you're buying a house, like a rental property. It might not do well now, but 2 years from now, it might be super valid. To your point, Gary, your dental marketing theory stuff, like I personally went through all of it because, our team had to make a whole collage of them for your 1 year anniversary. I saw the difference in what you guys are talking, like how you like. It's a massive difference. You're laughing like it's a massive difference. Even this episode,
it's huge.
This episode that we're having right now, massive difference from episode 1 of this show.
That's where I think we're not doing like trends and all these things, right? Because those are not evergreen. So when you do something like, or even taking political stuff, like there's people who post every day about politics or the market, and that's only good for that day.
Yep,
that's it. And now you may get a lot of views, but it's only good for right then. When you post evergreen content, I 100% agree with you. Not only that, it gives you massive credibility. When I know when people go and look me up, they're like, holy smokes. Like I've had multiple people reach out to me. How are you doing this? Because in the dental industry, no one's doing even a fraction of what we're doing. Like even a small fraction. So just the sheer amount of volume of content and just thumbing through it is like, okay, these guys obviously know something. They're the experts at something. And that's a huge leg up in every way.
People don't talk about it enough. I mean, like seriously, I think I could riff on this for an entire 45-minute episode, which honestly we just might have to, but people don't they don't take this into consideration, especially companies, right? They don't realize this. Like they'll put out content, they'll do it themselves and it'll be pretty, lackluster and crappy content. They'll be like, okay, why is it getting 5 views? But what they don't take into consideration is that, listen, you're not trying to get a director. Like, it's not paid ads. I've had this conversation with multiple people before. Yeah. It's not paid ads, right? It's like I explained, like an asset, right? So, like, eventually you'll have one person 6 months from now see your content, reach out to you, say, oh, my God, I love what you're doing. I want to do business with you. It'll be your biggest deal yet. But if you wouldn't have kept putting out that content, that wouldn't have happened. It's really not a short tail game. And a lot of it's not measurable. Like I said, it's not paid ads. There's not direct data to go behind it. Exactly. And it's branding with a sprinkle of high revenue on top of it over the course of being patient and consistent.
I got this message yesterday. He said, what happened to you hating social media? You're a beast lately. And I said, I still hate social media. Business decision, LOL. I have lots of help. He said, nice. It's really good. This is a dentist.
That's awesome.
This is just him from the outside looking in. Because I've told him before. I've worked with him for years. Told him before. I'm like, I don't like social media. Like I don't post on it. And
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, but the last thing on the dentistry note, as we wrap up here, I have to give a tremendous shout out to Total Dentistry in Englewood, Florida. Gary, I kid you not. When I got my wisdom tooth removed, no pain and no swelling. I came out of the office like this. I was talking like this, no pain.
What's the name of the place?
Total Dentistry in Englewood, Florida. Dr. Hale, Harvard graduate. I'm shocked to this day. Shocked. Walked out of the office with no pain, no swelling, nothing, and I just had multiple incisions. I still feel the hole in my mouth from where the tooth was. No pain, no swelling. I'm beyond shocked. I was eating normal food that day. Like I didn't even need to crazy.
That is really good.
Incredible, and his staff super helpful. I definitely just shocked, so much shocked that I'm shouting them out in the show for the 2 people listening. If you're near this place, definitely call them up. I don't even know if they're accepting new patients. I'm lucky I got in there. I'm that ecstatic. I don't know. Funny. That's it. This was an interesting episode. This was like throwing a bunch of things out there, seeing what's sticking, and I think we provided a lot of value out there for some people. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think we should do this every once in a while, just kind of wing it and not wing it, but just say, hey, this is what's going on with us right now.
I agree. Guys, with that said, I hope this episode provides you guys some sort of value. It is a bit of a long one, so if you stuck around to this end, we really appreciate you being here, but that means you enjoyed it. So if you're on YouTube, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and turn on notifications. We post every Wednesday, 10 a.m. Eastern. We're consistent with it now. We're not missing it. If you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, guys, please leave us a review. We actually got enough reviews to where when you look us up on Spotify, you see the number of 5-star reviews we got. So we're trying to get that to 50. I think we could do it by the end of the year. It's September 12th. I think we can get to over 50 5-star reviews organically on Spotify. So if you're listening and you haven't left a review
organically, that means we're not going to pay somebody overseas to do it.
Or run paid ads, one or the other. But yeah, we're definitely not doing that. But yeah, guys, if you're listening on Spotify and you haven't left a review, go do that. And guys, if you need to listen to some clips, which I absolutely recommend some clips in your life, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts. We're literally everywhere. Everywhere there's clips that are 9x16, you're going to see mine and Gary's face on there. With that said, guys, thanks so much for being here, and we will catch you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.